Hello, welcome everybody to the rant. If you're listening to this, you are listening to a Chicago Cubs podcast brought to you by CubsInsider.com. So hopefully you meant to listen to this, and if you didn't, well, you can hang out. You might learn some things. You might broaden your horizons in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I mean, I guess good on you if you're here and didn't want to be.
Just stumbled across it.
Yeah, you're here in the aftermath of the NFL draft and listening to baseball talk. But
baseball.
it feels this is the first it's still kind of chilly here in the mornings a little bit, but like the sun was out and it's warm, and it's finally for me. And
Now, what's warm?
It was 80s, low 80s.
Are you kidding me? Wow. It is colder here.
Yeah, I mean, and after it had been pretty chilly, right? I mean, we've seen the Cubs games the last few days. We're talking 40s and 50s up there. Like my son and I went up to South Bend. Our mutual friend Danny Rocket sang the national anthem.
I saw that. He nailed it.
Game. Yeah, he did a great job. Yeah. And then David Elliott, great Cubs fan, had his 40th birthday. Got the president's suite there, or the owner's suite at South Bend, and invited a bunch of people up. That's cool. So got to go up there. The only problem, so it's one of those days where so the sun was, I mean, it was beautiful, right? Not a cloud in the sky, sun shining, like mid 60s. I think it got up to like 66, 67, maybe a little closer to 70 by the time we were done. So as we're driving up there in the morning, got the AC going in the car because the sun's blasting through there, and we get out. My son and I are shorts and T-shirts. We had our jackets, but it was like, oh, it's perfectly warm. But the suite seats, especially right behind home plate there, are in full shade the entire time. And so 65 and bright sunshine is a good bit different from 65 and shady the whole time.
Probably a little breeze.
So it was a little, it wasn't uncomfortable, but the jackets that we left in the car probably could have been there. But no, it was really cool. And my son now has his driver's permit, doesn't have his license yet, but he drove the entire time. So I was like, man, this is the easiest thing in the world. I didn't know. It's probably actually more stressful to ride in the car with the teenager on his permit, driving for 5 total hours, 2.5 hours one way.
Was he solid the whole way? Did he make like anything that made you kind of on edge?
There were a couple points, because I'm like checking all the mirrors, more so than I probably even would when I was driving. At one point, we're in I don't know if it was a 60. I don't think it was a 55. I think it was a 60, but he got up to 80, and I was like, you might want to watch your speed there. But it's like the typical, like, get in the left lane, pass a car that's kind of going slow, and do it by like getting up to 75, 80 miles an hour, and then immediately get back over in the right lane and like slow down to the speed limit. I'm like, all right, dude, if you were just going to do that, just stay behind this car. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was a good learning experience. And it was just nice to be able to kind of do that, get up there. We've been to several South Bend Cubs games. And
anybody stand out there when you watch the game?
Not in that game particularly. I mean, Christian Hernandez was there. It was kind of wild to see Reggie Preciado is still in the organization. He was part of the Yu Darvish trade. When the Cubs got all those teenagers, and it's like, oh, hey, this guy's still here. So nothing really wild, at least to me. It's kind of just taking the atmosphere of it. It's just minor league baseball is kind of fun, but I think when you look at the way the organization is now, before it was like really heavy at the lower end. Now it's so top heavy that there's so many guys at Iowa that are these known commodities that you want to watch. And South Bend's got some dudes, but it's not quite the loaded roster that you would have seen down there, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking. You mentioned that Yu Darvish trade, and I'm looking back at that. Okay, they got Owen Casey, who's really the only guy who's. I mean, none of them have done anything. They got. Wow, that was a terrible trade, really.
Yeah, it did not work out very well for them, in retrospect.
I mean, who knows? Who knows what becomes of Casey? He's currently injured, but right? Isn't he injured?
What did he do? Turn his ankle or something? I mean, he's been doing really well. Because he was able to, like I saw him when I was down there in Arizona. because he had kind of gotten hurt and kind of pulled his groin or something, and he had some core muscle surgery in the offseason too. So I know they're taking it easy for it with him, but got to see him take some BP, and I don't think that was like his first live BP or anything, but that was the first I had seen him in action, certainly, since he had been shut down. So that was kind of cool. And then he came out of the gates looking really, really good for Iowa. I mean, they've got several guys doing really well there. So we got to see him play when the I-Cub was right now a little while back. Got to see Cade Horton throw his first start of the year, which is cool, and he's still shoving. So
nice.
Yeah. So it's good. Good overall.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you were a little distracted by something other than the Cubs this weekend. The Cubs, we were talking about this in our last show before the series, and I was saying that I was interested to see how this series played out, just because the Phillies are just kind of like a different type of team than the Dodgers and the Padres and the Diamondbacks. I mean, when you look at their bullpen numbers, their bullpen wasn't great, but their starting pitching was decent, and their offense has been pretty good. It hasn't completely clicked, but at the end of the day, it was a good series. I mean, the Cubs really could have won yesterday, obviously. I mean, there was that 10th inning was pretty tough. And Merriweather just was terrible. My God,
Yeah.
he couldn't throw a strike. And then he ends up walking two batters, and Bohm comes up, and everybody in the world knew he was going to throw a fastball because he couldn't throw anything for a strike. He was trying to throw breaking balls to the first two batters, couldn't get him over, walked both of them in relatively short order. And then of course he's getting the fastball, and of course he pumped it, out into the outfield, and that scored one run. And then they ended up scoring another run. And it was just ugly. He didn't even last the whole inning, did he? I think they took him out.
Yeah. I mean,
Tealbar came in.
And that's just been the story, right? Like over and over, it's not as simple as saying just throw strikes. But man, is it just so frustrating. Like the one thing you cannot do. And actually, like one walk is honestly not the worst thing in the world. It's actually fine with the Manfred man there on second base, because at least now you're getting
I agree.
But getting two walks, and now you've loaded the bases with no outs. You know what I mean? Like that's just, you can't let that happen. And then it's in your head, all those things. And the frustrating part of it too is this was kind of the first. The Cubs have done a really good job of creating their own luck. I think that's something we've talked about on here, right? Pressing the issue, being aggressive. The Phillies felt like they were the aggressors in this series, and as such got the benefit of the doubt, right? Like Ben Brown's line didn't look real good, but there were a couple of hits against him that just were little dinky flares that fell in that had no business actually being hit. He gave up a couple of hard hits too in there, but it was just, that was kind of a so they got done in a little bit. Again, they beat themselves, right? Like I'm not saying I'm taking no credit away from the Phillies, but that was just kind of one of those where a couple things fall and then things go sideways, and it just felt like, all right, cool, we'll get them the next time, and then the next time they didn't. That this really is the first one for a full series, if we discount the two games in Japan. That, I mean, the Cubs only scored 4 runs in each of the first 2 games, and they could only get 1 in the third. Like the offense that has been there more than any other, the best offense in baseball, did not show up, and that's what cost them the series.
Yep. And really the Phillies had one good inning in the entire series, and to your point, it wasn't like they were driving the ball all over the place, right? I mean, I think Kepler maybe ended up getting a home run in that game, but it was a solo shot, and it was after the damage was done later in the game. But I mean, really, it was a bunch of blue pits. It was a really poorly played ball that looked like Hap just, I don't even know what he was doing. I mean, he definitely could have gotten to the ball, and I don't know, there's miscommunication going on out there, but it fell between him. Who was playing third?
Birdie was at third, wasn't he?
Was it Birdie? Yeah. And then Swanson. And it was just one of those things where you're just like, man, that was a terrible play. And then that just kind of compounded everything in that inning. And it was just like one of those innings where it was just like things were falling in. It was really windy. It was cold. It wasn't a great day. So the score ended up being 10-4. The Cubs came out though. If we rewind just a little bit, the Cubs came out on Friday and they looked great, right? I mean, Rhea looked good. 5 innings pitched. The bullpen, Thielbar, Keller, Palencia, and Pomeranz all looked really good.
Because he threw strikes. Weird.
Yeah, they threw strikes, 1 inning for each of them, and things worked out really well in that game. And the Cubs did what they needed to do just to scratch out 4 runs. Their average was 6.3 runs going into that game per game. And in this series, they scored a total of 9 runs, and so just way down. And then we talk about holding their offense, the Cubs offense, in check. You've got Busch went 0 for 6 with 3 walks, so they were willing to walk him. Tucker went 1 for 12, and I think Birdie, like he tore it up, right? He went 5 for 8. Like Birdie led the team in the series, and you're not going to win very many games if Birdie's leading you in offense.
Yeah, not really. I mean, at least PCA kept going, but the thing what's troublesome is after it looked like Swanson had kind of maybe started to figure a couple things out. Like he just looked lost for the last, and here's the difference. Like I'm sure there'll be, I'm not even going to go check, but I'm sure there are going to be some told you so or gotcha comments on Facebook. Cause I wrote something, whatever that was, like a week ago or so, about how Swanson's had bad luck. And all these people were like, was the bad luck making him swing and miss? It's like, okay, we're talking about entirely different things. I'm talking about specifically what happened when he hit the ball, and he was hitting it very hard and having nothing to show for it. I think that caused him to press. That, there was a lot of swing and miss in there. Like, again, I think those are, maybe it's chicken or egg, but it looks at this point like he's very much in his own head when he's up there and just kind of guessing at stuff and hoping that he can just guess right. He looks lost. I want to see him get a couple of days off, clear his head, get him some time to just kind of relax, like get in there and just have that pitching machine throw nothing but 85-mile-an-hour heaters down the middle and just go ham on it for a while and get that confidence back up a little bit, because something's just not right. And I know he is a guy who prides himself on playing every day. He doesn't like to sit, even when he's hurt, which is dumb, because it's been obvious a few times that playing hurt has cost him and the Cubs. I just feel like this is one of those things where discretion is the better part of valor, and the manager needs to go to him and be like, "Hey, you got to clear the head, dude, because the mechanism, something is amiss there." And so when you have that going on, when Nico Horner got a little blooper in there, but he's not looked real good for the last several games. And then when you have a game, when you put why in the name of all that is holy is Justin Turner batting cleanup? That she should never be batting third either. But like now you've got Justin Turner batting cleanup. You've got Swanson right behind him. Horner's not doing much. You can't have your 4, 5, 6 spots give you zero production for a period.
Especially when you've got Tucker batting right in front of Turner.
Yeah, that it's having Turner in the lineup is defensible if we're talking about, hey, although again, it was a bad matchup for him at the time, because he went into that 1 for 10 with 2 strikeouts against Luzardo. Right, that was a game. It was the Saturday game. Jesus Luzardo was starting. There's no right. Was that Saturday or was that the Friday game? Whatever it was. He was.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
Yeah. So then, yeah, that's right. 1 for 10, 2 strikeouts. Not as bad a matchup as when they had him batting third against Tyler Glasnow, against whom he was like 0 for 14 with 10 strikeouts or something, and then struck out 3 times again. It's like this is going to happen, and. What bothers me the most, because a lot of people say, well, maybe just Counsell wants to keep the lineup the same otherwise. But then Counsell himself comes out and, like a day before that had said, the order doesn't really matter. It's who's in the lineup in general. Okay, well, if that's
That,
the case,
how he cannot possibly believe that. You cannot believe that you can have Tucker batting and then the guy behind him be Justin Turner, and that doesn't matter, because
right.
it does matter. They'll just pitch around Tucker.
Right. Well, and my thought on it is, because a lot of people said, well, he wants to keep everybody in the same spots, and so that's why you just swap him in for the position. So when he would DH for Suzuki,
But why? It's
and
not like it's
Suzuki's
some
third,
magic
right?
formula.
Like it's one game,
What does it
dude.
matter?
Right? No,
I mean, look at what
I
Madden used
guarantee.
to really
Yeah.
go crazy, right?
Oh yeah, and you just you're in a slump, we'll put you in leadoff. But it is baffling to me to do, and I get it when you say the question was specifically about Pete Crow Armstrong and when will he be moved up from the 7th spot?
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, even if it is just for one game, I'd be way happier to see Pete Crow Armstrong batting cleanup. It's kind of an odd move normally for that type of player, but the way he's hitting, hell yeah, he's infinitely better than having Turner there right now.
Put PCA at the top of the lineup and put Happ in cleanup.
Anything.
Why wouldn't you do that? PCA's
It-
got to be at the top of the order. He's got to
literally
be either the
anything
first
would
or
have
the
been
second.
better. Yeah, I mean, it's just
Anything would have been better.
As long as his on base gets better. I mean, hey, he's producing the bottom of the lineup. I mean, when you're talking about putting Carson Kelly down there, Miguel Amaya down there in 8, John Birdie's been hitting real well. He's been batting 9th. The 7, 8, 9 spots, at least for the, if you put them in aggregate, have probably done just as well as any other 3 combined in there, because they, the guys at the top haven't all really been hitting together at any one point. But it's just, that's the frustrating part, is that, look, I liked the Turner signing at the time. I really, really like what he, I mean, just when he's interviewed, when you hear the way guys talk about him, when you see him and the way he interacts, I like what he brings, and that's fine. But he's got to play sparingly, and when he does, you got to really account for that in that batting order for that particular game, because it's just, his bat speed is like first percentile. And I know a lot of people don't buy into that stuff too much, which is weird. Again, the same thing as like not buying into exit velocity. It's like, you have to swing hard to hit it hard. And the issue is that he is no longer a young enough man to get away with that. When you're 40 and your bat speed is dropping off and you're losing a couple miles an hour on that, you're not catching up to the heater anymore. You're not even being able to go backside with it.
He cannot hit the fastball.
No, and it's just,
he can't pull it all.
Yeah, so I don't know what it's got to be. But there were a couple of questionable things there, and look, that stuff all gets masked over when everybody's hitting and you're scoring a bunch of runs. But it really felt like there were a couple of things where it's like, manager maybe kind of put them in a position to where they weren't as likely to score as much. So whatever. It'll all be better if they score 10 runs a game going forward. So.
I mean, it's just like where you look at, you've got Turner batting 163, Swanson batting 188. I mean, listen, Craig Counsell's not an idiot, right? He's not a dumb guy. I mean, he knows exactly what's happening there. So I think that's the really kind of crazy part about it is like, is he doing that on purpose, knowing that, the guys down at the bottom and the guys up above him are hitting much better, and you just kind of deal with 2 outs in a row there? I mean, I'm trying to understand it. I'm trying to obviously give Craig Counsell credit for being a smart guy and a good manager, but it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever why you would have 2 guys who are struggling offensively. One guy that's old, one guy that's Turner's not gonna, he's not gonna have a hot streak this year. I mean, listen, I'll be shocked if he gets more than 2 home runs, even if he gets 2 home runs. I mean, the way he's hitting right now, he's not gonna hit a breaking ball out. And so he's gonna have to run into a fastball. He doesn't have the power to get a breaking ball out. And so
he doesn't have the bat speed to catch up to the fastball right now.
I know.
Or at least it doesn't seem like.
And so I don't know. It's frustrating to see that. And then when you add to the fact that it felt like the Phillies kind of came up with a formula that worked for this one right now, and or at least worked for this series, right? Where they shut down Busch and they shut down Tucker. And, I mean, they didn't really worry all that much about anybody else. I mean, PCA, he only had 2 hits in the whole series.
It felt like,
I mean, it was 2 doubles, I think it was, but
yeah, and he got, if the wind
he had a
wasn't
double and a
killing
single.
it, yeah, he would have had a homer last night.
Yeah.
Like that was a pump just about, that's the other, like, look at the difference between that crazy game against Arizona where all you had to do was hit the ball in the air and it was going 5 rows deep in the bleachers versus this weekend was you had to hit one like 120 on a line to get it out. So that was definitely, that's Wrigley Field in a nutshell. But that Arizona, but that's the other thing is like the Arizona game, that was like 75 and sunny and beautiful. And then you've got these like mid 40s and just kind of gray and crappy. So I hope I'm going to be up there on Monday. So I'm sincerely hoping that the weather is a lot better than what it has been the last couple of days.
Are you getting concerned with Ben Brown?
I mean, yes and no. Like, I think there's been a little bit. He feels like he's kind of been walking the razor's edge a little bit with the fastball velo being down a bit. And initially, my concern was less about that and more about the curveball because he's got that death ball curve that really kind of operates differently from what people expect. He throws it harder. It's a knuckle curve, so it's got sharper break. It doesn't have the big old bendy, Uncle Charlie kind of hook. And for a while there, he was getting a little too slurvy with it, and it was actually losing its effectiveness, right? It had more movement, which, people, sans context, would normally associate with being better. But he wants to, if you look at like the StatCast on Baseball Savant, they do. I love that site because it's really, it's very informative and also intuitive in terms of being able to kind of look at somebody's their little player card there and see, where they kind of react or where they stand as far as a percentile basis. You can see all their pitch usage and the velocities, and there's a movement plot, horizontal and vertical, and it's a circle and it shows all their pitches. With his curveball, you actually want it to be closer to the middle of that plot and operate differently from what the averages would be. He had gotten that there. Again, my concern is more he's just not been efficient. I mean, he was the first Cubs starter to throw, any pitcher, to throw 100 pitches in his previous start, but that was only over 4 innings. That was like he had to labor, and it's the same thing. He's having a real tough time putting guys away consistently.
Well, and he's having bad luck. I mean, looking at the numbers, man. The BABIP against batting average on balls in play against is 413. That's insane. 300's about the average. His ERA is 6.04, but his FIP is 4.16. As you'd expect with a high BABIP like that. I mean, he's getting ground balls. He's getting 43% ground balls, which is higher than his norm. But it just seems like every ball that goes in the air lands in for a hit. And so some of it's just bad luck.
Bad
defense.
Yeah, what's his hard hit? I need to look at that again. I didn't see where he was sitting there. Like how much of that's because like what we were talking about, I can't get my computer to work, so it doesn't really matter anyway. But
I'll see if I can come up with it.
It's just spinning. That's what I enjoy. But at least this is still page unresponsive. Okay, cool.
Are you looking at StatCast?
Yeah, I'm on Savant.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, and so I mean, like he's had bad luck, but it's like, man, he's had some of the worst luck of all the Cubs pitchers, that's for sure, right? I mean, and his stuff looks good. I mean, when he looks good, he looks really good, but he's had a couple innings where he's just been terrible. Yeah. And again, bad luck. I mean, that inning, was it the 4th inning on Saturday, was just not great defense.
And he looked really, like you said, he looked really good up to that point. And so I don't know if that's a him, like is that a mental thing? Is he's
dominating, right? Didn't he have like 6 strikeouts through like
really
3
good
innings?
Yeah, I mean the hook was going, I mean that was that's where it needed to be. And so it's just is the guy seeing him again? Does he not have the stamina to go deep enough in there and keep his stuff? I don't know. I'd have to dig into it a little bit further. But yeah, I mean, it is.
He's not giving up hard hit stuff. I'm looking at it right now. His hard hit percent in 24 was 51.4. In 25, it's 44.9. I mean, I guess, and that's just the point, right? It's just like it's just soft balls. I mean, I don't think there was a line drive in that inning. Maybe there was one ground ball that was like hard hit.
I mean, they had a couple that were over 100. But there were a couple that weren't, right? It was like 85 and like 75 or something like that, which,
yeah,
normally those balls are easy outs. And, it's easy to coulda, shoulda, woulda a bunch of this stuff. But I mean, realistically, you are looking at if a couple of those balls, if one doesn't drop, a butterfly flaps its wings, so on and so forth, those things can kind of change. And that's where, again, the conversation about kind of process versus results, right? Luck versus reality, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people be like, "Whoa," but it doesn't matter, because a hit, it could be 110 or it could be 75. They could still fall for hits. Yes, but over time, and similarly, it's like, okay, in that one game, you can't go back and change that batted ball event. But over the course of a season, given where the contact profile is, and like you mentioned with the BABIP, like that stuff should even out. The issue, though, is is there something he's doing, as I referenced Luck earlier, is there something he's doing that's causing him to have inordinately bad luck, right? Is that his fault? Is there something he's doing, or is he simply the victim of some weird circumstances? And
God is punishing him for something he did in his life.
It may be.
Or punishing us, one of the two.
Yeah, well, that's probably more likely.
Yeah, sorry, Ben. It's our fault.
Our bad. Sorry, dude. I'd smite you down because of something we did.
Yeah. And so the Cubs, all in all, I mean, it was a tough series. They dropped 2 out of 3. Time to go on the road and finally play some teams in their division. So at least that'll be nice to be able to kind of see how the Cubs measure up and play against those divisional opponents. They've got Pittsburgh coming up, and then I don't have the schedule right here in front of me. I'm trying to pull it up.
Milwaukee.
Yeah, Milwaukee.
The weekend is in. Yeah, they got Pittsburgh and Milwaukee, but then they got to host the Giants, right? Who are playing super, super well. That's the game I'm going to Monday night, is against the Giants. I think they got to go up against Paul Skeens on Thursday, so that's really fun. get to close that out with the man who I believe is the best pitcher in baseball and will be, barring injury, for the next decade or so. But there's somebody shared with me on Instagram. It was just a pitching ninja. So I mean, it'd be on X or Twitter or whatever as well. But it was like his 9 strikeouts in the game and just an overlay of all of them at once. And it was just like it's not as if he's just dotting fastballs in the same spot, right? Or hit you. Like, he's got this wide array of pitches that he can get anybody out with all of them. It's just absurd to be able to throw that hard. And he's added 2 new pitches this year. This is not fair.
It's ridiculous.
It's as if
good. I mean, he's one of those guys who's you hate to play against him, but he's fun to watch.
Oh, I mean, it's appointment viewing, right? Even if it wasn't the Cubs playing, I love watching that dude pitch because he's just that good. It's Max Scherzer in his prime, Clayton Kershaw in his prime, right? Any of these guys that we look at, Justin Verlander, when they were on, there was just nobody, and going back to, I look at Randy Johnson. I mean, that dude was I love watching because he just had that big old sidearm gangly guy with the hair flying everywhere. And it's just it was fun. Skeens is a different dude, obviously, but I mean, when you're throwing triple digits with all of that other stuff,
what's he?
Hitters just can't.
Got 7 pitches.
Yeah, what are you going to do? What are you going to? I am looking forward to that. I know. I love doing the lineup posts because I really enjoy digging into the opposing pitcher and looking at those matchups and how they that's going to be fun. I'm going to have to sit down and take my time with that one and kind of savor it because I mean, it's just I'm in awe of what that dude. And to think that like he wasn't even very heavily recruited out of high school, which is why he went to Air Force because like he wanted to be a fighter pilot or whatever. And I think he was a bit smaller at the time too, because normally fighter pilots aren't that big. But then he grew and his fastball grew with him, and then it was off to LSU and all kinds of different life choices than what it would have been if he was trying to be Top Gun Maverick. So good for him. Good for him.
Yep. So that'll be a good series. It'll be be good to see the Cubs go against. Hopefully they can get that first game. That was at least the one thing they did well in the series against the Phillies was they won the first game, and then they kind of laid a stinker on Saturday, but they had a chance on Sunday, if not for the Merriweather complete implosion. But all in all, on the home, they still end up with a winning record on the homestand of what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 3. So you take it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it could have been better. And that's the thing is that like you just kind of feel like the Cubs keep winning 2 here and then they drop 1 and then they win, 1 and then they drop 1 and then they win 2 and then they haven't yet been able to kind of put together like a 6 or 7 game. And it's early, obviously. But I think that's the thing that like, man, it sure would be nice if they could get like a 6 or 7 game win streak here just to kind of put a little distance in between them and whoever's the rest of the pack in the NL Central, because the NL Central is not good.
No,
it's not. I mean, the Reds are there. I don't even know who's going to come in second place. Maybe it's the Reds. I just don't know if they can sustain it for a whole season, but it's I mean, there's a case to be made that the rest of the division could finish under 500.
Hopefully.
That'd be great.
It'd be nice, in general, like as long as the Cardinals continue to suck, right? You got to figure the Cardinals are going to keep trying to sell off these guys. Like, they wanted to trade Nolan Arenado. They wanted to trade Wilson Contreras. They wanted to trade Sonny Gray. They didn't get any of those guys moved. I would be shocked at this point because, what are they, 4 games under already? And I don't think they're going to be able to withstand anything because they need to move those guys and move on and kind of revamp things. It's been forever since they truly rebuilt and they've been kind of stringing it along for a while.
It doesn't even feel like they've even started. What do you think the chances are that the Cubs get Nolan Arenado in a trade?
Incredibly low. I mentioned that.
I mean, it'd be great though, right? I mean, is there anything
I don't know. He's
for this season
years old, maybe, but he's under contract for 2 more years at $30 million a year, and he's 34.
He's playing good this year.
He is.
The guy's a baller, dude.
Yeah, and I know the Rockies are paying $5 million of his salary this year and next year. It depends on how much the Cardinals are going to eat, but I have to think somebody else is going to be like. If you're the Cubs, though, how much are you giving up? And it can't be much. And are the Cardinals going to be willing to do that? Yeah. And it'd be one thing if he was just a rental, but to know that like he's got 2 more years left. And again, if I'm the Cubs, if they weren't willing to spend that kind of money on Alex Bregman, are they going to put that kind of money into Nolan Arenado, who's again going to be 35 and 36 in the next 2 years of that deal, who had been trending down, who's and is looking pretty good. The bat speed is up. That's something I know he worked on this offseason to improve. We've seen a little bit more of the power out of him so far, but I don't know, because there was even talk about moving him off of third base, for a while there. And it's like, all right, well, if he can't be the stud third baseman, the platinum glove third baseman that he has been in the past, does he bring enough to you? So
is his defense bad though, or is it just that the Cardinals have somebody that they want to?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of that was just. And some of it may have been talk about, hey, he can be more versatile, so if you already have a third baseman, yeah, he can move around to try to increase trade. I don't know, but I don't see a world in which that ends up happening. It could. We've seen the 2 teams make deals before, but I mean, I do, despite the early struggles, I think the Cubs are truly bought in on Matt Shaw, and so bringing in a guy who's going to be there for the next 2+ years. At that cost and at that age, those things don't strike me as something that Jed Hoyer's likely to do. Especially,
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
still, Jed Hoyer's not even under contract after this year, so I don't know if
it's true.
I don't know if he's gonna be able to spend that money.
I mean, let's get Shaw, like to your point that you wrote about, was it today, I think,
Yep.
about getting Shaw back up to Chicago. I mean, listen, it's fine to get him back, send him down to Iowa just to kind of get his head straight. And I think his head is straight. But I mean, there's really no good option or reason to keep him down anymore, right? I mean, like, he's gonna figure it out. He's just gonna have to, like, it's gonna take a little bit of time. He's not look at Spencer Torkelson this year. He is tearing it up. In his first couple years, he was like terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it just takes some time sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it would be different if we felt at all confident about any of the other options. I mean, you saw Vidal Brujan playing like 8 feet deep
That was
into
terrible.
the freaking. It was more than 8, but I mean,
He was like, then he double clunched.
Yeah, he was like on the grass back there at
backed
third.
Up.
Yeah,
double pumped.
And then there's just
like
no
Trey Turner.
chance. It wasn't even close, right? And again, I know that that's not his full-time position, but it's nobody they're using over there right now is their full-time position. Like, and then I'm looking at like, wait a minute. I mean, and he came in, again, because he's the speed guy, whatever. But John Birdie's a speed guy, like that, whatever. There's different matchups. But I'm like, what was the point in signing Nicky Lopez? And then Nicky Lopez, who has no pop, who's a glove first player. Why do you sign him? And his only appearance so far is as a pinch hitter, and not as a defensive replacement, where he's played really good third base over the course of his career. Defensively, he can't hit, but that's why he's.
And it's things like that make you say, what is Counsell doing? Like, Counsell's got street cred, I guess, because he did a good job at Milwaukee, apparently, but I mean, he didn't win a World Series, and he's making some questionable decisions, and I don't want to start bashing the guy, but
but it was just weird. I mean, but there again, it's like, okay, Turner batting fourth, cool. I mean, not cool, but
not cool.
Whatever, it's one thing. But I'm like, why is Nicky Lopez not a defensive replacement? Why is he pinch hitting? That's the opposite of what he should be doing. But then you sign him to a big league deal, and I know you have to. You wasn't going to take a minor league deal, whatever. But now, if he plays, that'll be their 6th third baseman so far this year, and none of those guys, like Lopez, not an everyday guy. Birdie, not an everyday guy. Brujan, not an everyday guy. Turner, not an everyday guy. Gage Workman already got DFA'd, and Matt Shaw got sent down. But the guys, you got 4 dudes on your roster who can play third base, but really only one of them, and that would be Lopez, has done so at a pretty high level defensively. And as we've already discussed, like, Brujan was let go down in Miami because he couldn't hit at the major league level. He hadn't shown that he could, and he hadn't shown anything yet with the Cubs.
He got Mervis down there raking.
Yeah, he's been doing it, but like, Justin Turner should never play third base. That's the reason he's over at first. Birdie is kind of a jack of all trades sort of a guy, but not someone who you want in there every day. So I'm really struggling with this whole thing, because and that's where I go back to Shaw. Was like, even if he doesn't figure it out, at least, or not right away, right? Even if he struggles for a little while, at least you're doing it with a guy who feels like he's part of the future, and who, if and when he does figure it out, will be able to contribute. The rest of these guys are all kind of in that journeyman, I'm cool playing over here for a couple of innings or once a week.
Yeah, they're not going to be. You don't feel like they're going to be with the Cubs in 2 years,
or even by the end of this year, maybe. I mean, right?
Hopefully.
Like, I mean, I'd just as soon see them. Ben Cowles is on the 40-man. Yeah, and that's why the Lopez thing felt weird to me, because that feels like a deal where they're going to end up DFAing him at some point in the not too distant future, and they're going to have to eat that money. Why not just call up a dude who's down there? And again, Cowles is playing mostly shortstop, hasn't done a whole lot over at third base, but he's on the 40-man. You wouldn't have had to made a procedural move. He's getting the major league minimum. If he does, bring him up, get him a cup of coffee. I think we talked about this last time. I'm still weirded out by that, but
it is. I know the Cubs have to shore all this stuff up. I mean, it's just like it doesn't need to be the issue it is. and they really need to focus on the bullpen. It's like, why
Yeah.
give yourself more problems at third base? Just go with what you've got, to your point, and just let it work itself out. And then let's figure out what's going on with the bullpen. I mean,
Yeah.
which by the way, pitched pretty well over. I mean, in really terrible hitting conditions, though, they pitched pretty well. So
yeah, because there was
see,
Nick Castellanos had that ball that like just missed the basket. Like that one looked like it could, and I can't remember when this happened. Maybe a couple years ago. It was the first time I'd ever seen it where a ball actually did hit the basket and stay in, because normally the way it's angled, like for a ball to hit, it just, normally it's going to go in because of that angle, but to see a ball hit the basket and stay in play.
Yeah.
Well, that one looked like it was straight because Hap was in the ivy on that one, and I was just like, again, if that's something that got hit a couple days before, it's 10 rows deep.
Oh, it's gone.
Least,
right? It's out on. Yeah.
And so yeah, that's part of it where you look at it like, they got a little help on a couple of those, and so again, we'll see. But I just want to throw strikes, man. I guess at the end of the day, though, I'd rather have that, right? Because hey, defense had a chance. Defense doesn't have a chance when you walk everybody. So at least make them beat you. Whatever.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. Let's look at the pitching matchups. If I can pull that up quickly.
I don't think of the Cubs. Aren't they still TBD, or did they put anybody out yet? Did they announce it?
Let's see. They keep moving all this stuff around on the. Let me see. On their website, they keep moving stuff around, and it makes it harder to find it. Like the pitching matchups used to be like really, like front and center, and now you got to kind of dig for it. Yeah, they don't. They've got Shota Imanaga is going on Tuesday against Andrew Haney, who's pitched really well. 1.72 ERA, 31 strikeouts, pretty impressive. Boyd against Ludzinski. Man, if I got that right, I deserve an award. And Ray against Skeens.
I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop on Colin Ray for a while, but I'm cautiously optimistic about the way. I mean, the velo looks like it's up a little bit. He's really working his fastball, but again, and somebody noted this earlier, the Cubs do seem to throw a lot of four-seam fastballs, given the fact that only Ben Brown throws his regularly above 93. And again, we've seen Ray reach back for some, but
yeah,
well, even the bullpen guys throwing a lot of them, and they can't seem to locate. That's been kind of interesting. So I don't know. I'm not particularly bullish on this on these pitching.
I don't
matchups.
feel bad. I mean, the Pirates have the 27th ranked defense in all of Major League offense. Sorry, in all of Major League Baseball, and so I mean, like you're feeling like even if their pitching is really good, the Cubs are still going to have a pretty good chance in this series to take 2 out of 3.
I would think so.
I'm gonna say that the Cubs take 2 out of 3. Would love to see the Cubs get their first full sweep of a full series.
They swept the A's.
Does that count though?
Well, yeah. When it's in a minor league ballpark, it does not.
Yeah,
count.
I mean, like a real full series against a team, especially a team from within their division. And again, I mean, if the Cubs could go on a little bit of a run here, and I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but if the Cubs could win 6 in a row and sweep both the Pirates and the Brewers, that's just a way out of left field, though. But
I mean, hey, give me 2 out of 3 in each of those, and I'm happy.
You're feeling good.
But that's where some of these games against even a team like the Pirates that the offense is down, like that's what a guy like Paul Skeens brings, though, is he looms on Thursday, right? Yeah. And so if you don't get that first game, or if you don't win one of the first 2, like you kind of have to, because like if you're going in there, the last thing you want to do is drop 2 and then have to face the dude who's going to win like 5 Cy Youngs.
But the upside to that is that their hitting isn't very good.
Yeah.
And so you could play against Skeens all day long and he could just, no
Just
hit
get to that
you
bullpen.
and you
Yeah.
could
Just,
still
hey,
win that game.
yeah.
Right. I mean, you got to get him to throw some pitches.
Yeah, just make sure you work with it. And that's one thing, again, they've been very, very good at that for the most part. Although, they made Aaron Nola look like he was vintage and that that dude was 0-5 going to the game.
The conditions were really rough though.
Yeah. I mean he got some help, but the first 8 batters all saw first pitch strikes, all took first pitch strikes. I'm like,
that's you can't do that.
There's being patient and there's just being passive. And that I was just like, come on, dudes. Like that's what kind of worried me is like you get one of those games, the conditions aren't real conducive to a bunch of offense, and you're just sitting here taking strikes, like Kyle Schwarber with 2 strikes. Really. Let's go. But the
Cubs have to adjust, right?
Yeah.
They have to adjust.
Hopefully
they will. But all right, well, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And join us on CubsInsider.com and all the socials and be nice to us. And we'll be nice to you. We're pretty nice because we do all this content and we don't really get paid much for it. I mean, we make enough to keep doing it to be able to afford to pay the bills.
Put gas in the choppers and that's
barely.
Yeah, keep the private jet on retainer. But outside of that, there's not much left.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. And we will circle back with you probably next week. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Sounds good.
In a few days. All right, cool.
Cool.
Good seeing you. All right.
See ya.
See you guys.